I need to ask you a very, very pertinent question, and I need you to be honest with me. Have you ever felt like you were the one who was just not the person who's fitting in to a certain space, a certain place, a certain position you found yourself in? Maybe it was even in your family, or it was in a friendship group, or maybe it was at school or in the working environment, maybe even in your church. Like everyone else had it together, and somehow you were the one who got the memo late or not at all. The black sheep. It's a term that stings, isn't it? It's a term which we don't want to coin, or we don't want to attribute that toward ourselves, because it usually doesn't come from strangers. It comes from people who are supposed to know you best. And sometimes the loudest voice calling you a disappointment isn't even someone else. It's the one inside your head. It's you yourself, that person staring back at you in the mirror. And that was the sad reality that I was faced with at a school recently as I was visiting a school of skills here in Cape Town. I asked a hall of around 400 learners if anyone didn't believe in themselves, and a few hands went up. I then asked in that safe space that we were in whether anyone would be brave enough to share. And one little girl, about 14, 15 years old, she came up to the stage and she didn't want to speak on the mic. She just whispered in my ear and asked me not to tell the rest of the school. Now you see, to her, she was the black sheep in her family. She was the black sheep in her family because she said she doesn't believe in herself because she feels like such a failure and such a disappointment to her family, because her parents had an expectation on her life to one day become a doctor. And now she found herself in her school, in a school for learners with special educational needs. And this is the reality of many, many learners who find themselves in these situations, that I need to speak to and try to motivate and get them to understand that you're not the black sheep, that you're not the failure, you're not the disappointment. We're all created differently. Not all of us are meant to be doctors. Not all of us are meant to be counselors and teachers and rocket scientists. God forbid that we are all doing the same thing, but we're all called to different things. But we need to understand that, yes, we are going to feel at times ashamed, and yes, we are going to feel like failures, and yes, we are like this girl, 14, 15 years old, have that guilt on our heart and feel like you're a disappointment. But you need to understand that you are different. Here's something that should bring you comfort, that every single person then in the Bible felt exactly the way that you might be feeling right now at some point in their lives. And at some point in your life, you maybe felt this too, where you felt guilt, where you felt disappointment, you maybe felt failure, where you felt like a failure yourself. Remember Moses? Moses was a guy, he killed another man and then he ran away in shame. He spent 40 years in the wilderness feeling like a failure before God called him to lead a nation. What about David? He was chosen by God, anointed a king, and his own father didn't even bother to call him in from the fields when Samuel came to anoint one of his sons. He was the afterthought, the forgotten one, the black sheep of his own household. What about Rahab and Ruth, Gideon, Peter and Paul? And the list goes on and on if you read the scriptures. People who felt disqualified, people who felt like they'd burned every bridge and disappointed everyone who mattered. God has long documented history of choosing those exact people who felt like failures, those exact people who were disappointments because they had failed God, they failed the people around them, they failed themselves. God chooses those exact people to do something extraordinary. Those ordinary people, or those people who might feel that they're not worthy enough. We read in this gospel narrative from St. Luke's gospel, Jesus telling a story that you might have heard, a story that you might have read and stumbled across many times, about a shepherd who had 100 sheep and then one of them wanders off and got lost, maybe made some bad choices, maybe just got turned around, and the text doesn't say exactly for how long this sheep had gone away from the fold for. And what does that shepherd then do? He leaves the 99 behind, and the ones who are doing fine, and the ones who stayed, and he goes after the lost one. Not because that one deserved it, not because that one had earned it, but because the one was his, and that was enough. When Jesus then finds it, Jesus says that he carries it home on his shoulders, not dragging it, not scolding it, not telling it about how pathetic it is and what a disappointment it was as a failure because it wandered off and all the other sheep stayed behind, but carrying it. And then he throws a party celebrating the return of this lost sheep. Now here's what I want you to sit with today. The sheep that was lost didn't do anything to get found. It didn't clean itself up. It didn't prove that it was worthy of rescue. The shepherd went looking for it while it was still lost, still muddy, still wandering. And that's you, and that's me, and that's each and every one of us. When you feel like the black sheep, the enemy and your own wounded mind will tell you certain things. I want you to name them, because lies lose power when they are spoken out. You need to understand that the lie does not have power. It doesn't have a hold against you. You need to take that power back again. The first is, I've gone too far to come back. The sheep in Jesus' parable had wandered far enough that it couldn't even find its own way back home again. But it was still found. There is no distance too far or too great for Jesus to find you. He will find you. The second lie is this: everyone else has it figured out. Well, you need to understand that they don't. I promise you they don't. The people who look like they have everything together and lekker with their lives are often the best at hiding how lost they feel. You're not uniquely broken. You're not uniquely broken. You are uniquely human. And the third is this: we say to ourselves, my failures define me. What you've done, it's done in the past. You can't change the past. But what you can do is you can change what you're going to do today in order for you to live tomorrow. The one who wandered, he just brings it home. Jesus brings that one home. God sees you beyond your worst moment. The fourth lie is this: I have to earn my way back. This is perhaps the cruelest of the lie, because it feels responsible and it feels mature. But grace and real grace doesn't work that way. You cannot be good enough to earn what has already been given to us freely. We cannot earn what has already been given to us freely. It is that grace. We don't need to pay for it. We don't have to go and tithe and give all of our money and give up all our possessions to follow God and to empty our hearts of our selfishness and truly come and say, Lord, I need you to find me. I need you to bring me back into your fold. I'm not going to tell you that the feeling of being the black sheep just disappears moments when you believe in God's love. I've coined it and I've said it many times about the author Alor Nost, who coined that beautiful phrase saying, life doesn't get better, you get better. And in you getting better, you need to allow yourself time. You need to allow yourself to come back. Here's the practical truth. The first is that you need to be honest about your feelings. Don't perform okayness in your life. Bring your disappointment and your shame to God like you'd bring it to one person in the world who you know won't flinch. He already knows, and he's already there. The second is to question the story you are telling yourself. Who told you that you were a disappointment, that you were a failure? Was that voice kind? Was it fair? Was it God's voice? Or was it fear and pain wearing a mask? The third is you need to find people The black sheep often isolates itself because isolation feels safer than rejection. But you were not made to carry this alone. You were not made to be in this world all by yourself. There's this stupid phrase that people always coin, or they say on the socials, that I've come into this world alone and I will go out of this world alone. It's stupid. It's ridiculous that you are saying this, because you need to understand that you are not an island on your own. You are not dependent on your own. You are a person who needs somebody else, and that's how God made us. I have my strengths, I have my weaknesses, and the same with you, but we complement each other. But also in that we don't know everything, we can't do everything, that we need God. If this community is what it's supposed to be, you should be able to be honest. Yeah. If you can't, then let's talk about why. What is the reason that you're not able to be comfortable around the people you surround yourself with? Again, I say it. I speak about it so often to young people at school. And sometimes they don't get it. And when they do get it, and they get that aha moment of, don't surround yourself with people who tolerate you, because intolerance, it only goes so far. It's according to my terms and my conditions of how I'm going to accept you. If you're going to walk a certain way, you're going to speak a certain way, you're going to dress a certain way. I usually bring this up and I say, you have your civics days at school. You're not going to hang out with somebody if they're not wearing the name brands that you're wearing. That is tolerance. And intolerance, it's not a good thing. You need to surround yourself rather with people who are going to celebrate you and believe in you more than what you do, until such time that you believe in you also. Because that is what we need to get out of those feelings of being the black sheep. You need people to believe in you, to find the value within yourself, to believe in you, and to believe in your dream also, because all of us have dreams, irrespective of where we might find ourselves, our socioeconomic background, irrespective of that. We have dreams, we have aspirations, we want a better life for ourselves. And sometimes we don't believe it. It's like that girl at the school, 14, 15 years old. She doesn't believe that she is able to achieve her dreams. Maybe she's not called to be a doctor. We're not all called to be doctors. We're not all called to be teachers. We're not all called to be in a certain profession. But what's her dream? Because now she's living a life where she's feeling like a failure. She's feeling like a reject. She's feeling ashamed because of the feelings that have been put on her heart by her parents, because when she was probably told that you need to go to a school for learners with special educational needs, to a school of skills, there's nothing wrong with to go to a school where you can learn a trade, you can learn a skill. It's a beautiful school I went to, where they were learning how to do wilding, they were learning how to do hairdressing, they were learning how to do woodwork and all these other fantastic things that our world needs today. What if that is a dream? What if that is a passion? What if that is the calling that's placed on our heart? We put so much pressure on ourselves. Not saying that children should be running away from home and going to go and find parents who are going to celebrate them instead of tolerating them according to their terms and conditions. But you need to find people who are going to believe in you. But you also need to believe in yourself too, and be strong enough to say that I don't appreciate the way that you are speaking to me. I don't appreciate that you are labeling me as the black sheep, because by you labeling me the black sheep, you're making me believe that I am the black sheep, that I'm the outcast. Because the fourth thing that we need to remember is this. Romans chapter 8. Such a beautiful phrase. I used to have this necklace, this chain I used to wear, and at the back of the tag it used to have this Romans 8 phrase, where St. Paul, who once stood watching as Christians were being killed and executed and persecuted for their faith, who once believed he was doing God's work by destroying the very church he would later build, Paul writes from prison, from captivity, he writes, "Nothing in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God." I say that again. Nothing in all of creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. Your failure in your life, whatever you have gone through in your past, the disappointments, those feelings of being ashamed because of how you had been hurt and how you have now felt ashamed of how other people have treated you or what they've done to you, not the ways that you've let people down, nothing is going to separate you, separate each of us from the love of God. You need to see that when we are found, there's a great rejoicing that happens. Jesus ends that beautiful parable with a party where the whole community is celebrating that one lost sheep coming home. Not a waste of time, not a waste of money because it's one out of the 99. Jesus highlights that there's a party, there's a joy that is happening. The whole community celebrating that one lost sheep now returning back into the fold. I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this today as we continue on our faith journey in this holy season of Lent, that heaven does not throw parties for people who played it safe. Heaven does not throw parties for people who played it safe and never wandered. The celebration is for the return into grace, for the return into mercy, into the return into God's forgiveness, into God's love. The celebration is for the one who was rescued from drowning, the one who was rescued from ultimate death. If you feel like the black sheep today, and those are the feelings that you had been feeling for a very, very long time because of how people had made you feel, you came to this space, a time of prayer, a time of reflection, a time of spiritual growth, carrying the weight of feeling like disappointment, like a failure, like the one who doesn't quite fit. You're standing right in the middle of the very story that Jesus was telling to the disciples and those who were listening at the time. And the shepherd is already on his way to you and to me. You don't have to earn the party. You don't have to pay for the party. You don't need a special VIP card for that, because you are the VIP in your own light as you came into this world, as you're brave enough to get out of bed this morning. You've earned the party. You just have to let yourself be found. Break down those barriers that's separating you from God's love and from God's grace. Break down those walls and soften your heart. Many times in our lives, we have been hurt by people. We've been hurt by people who are meant to catch us, people who are meant to hold us. And they didn't catch us, they didn't hold us. Instead of writing beautiful words into the fragrance of our hearts, they've written words of hurt and words of hate and words of trauma, and left us in that space of feeling like a failure and feeling ashamed and feeling like a disappointment. But the news today is soften your heart. Soften your heart and allow yourself to be found by He who is searching for you, yearning for you to come close to Him, yearning for your heart, but not only for your heart, also for your soul and for your entire